Now that you've chosen your active house for this turn, it's time to play, discard, and use cards from that house. And only from that house. It's important to note that you can play, use, or discard in any order you please. So you can play a card, discard, play another, use a card, and discard again. Or do nothing at all. It's really up to you. The only exception to this rule is on the first player's first turn. When the first player takes their first turn of the game, they can't play or discard more than one card from their hand. Although that one card they do play might direct them to play another card. In that case, that's okay. After that first turn, you can play as many cards from the chosen house as you want. Now, where were we? Right, let's break down those available options. Discarding a card means taking it from your hand and placing it face up in your discard pile. When you do this, make sure you're discarding one card at a time so that your opponent can see what you're discarding. This will also help verify that you are discarding cards from your active house only. Playing a card is how you get cards from the active house out onto the table to use or trigger certain actions. But you might have noticed that unlike some other deck battling games, there are no costs associated with the cards in your hand. When you activate a house, you can play all the cards in your hand that belong to that house at no extra cost. And how many of them you play is completely up to you. But when you do play a card, there are rules as to where and how they are placed. When you play a creature card, for instance, they enter play exhausted and are placed here, forming your battle line. Any new creatures you add to this line must be added to either its right or left flank. You can't place a new creature in between two creatures that are already in the battle line. Artifacts also come into play exhausted, but they don't go into your battle line when played. Your battle line is for creatures only. Instead, place artifacts back here, behind your battle line. Cards in their exhausted positions can't attack, reap, or use any abilities that require them to be exhausted. So in most cases when you're playing a card on your turn, considering they come into play exhausted, you're more than likely setting yourself up for a future turn. Other cards you play, like upgrade cards, get attached to creatures you already have in play, and action cards will be placed in your discard pile as soon as they are resolved. You'll notice that some of the cards you play will have this image of amber here in the upper left portion of the card. This means by playing this card, you'll gain that much amber, which is immediately added to the amber pool on your identity card. Additionally, some cards will also have the play keyword indicated in bold print here. This means that as soon as you play this card, you are triggering its ability as soon as it's played. Now, if you already have cards of the active house in play and ready, you can use as many of those cards as you want. For example, if my active house was Sanctum, I could use any of these readied Sanctum cards. I can reap with this creature to collect an amber, trigger this creature's ability to improve a creature's armor, send this thing to fight that thing, and if I had a Sanctum artifact in play, which I currently do not, I could use that too. Once you're done discarding, playing, and using any cards from your active house, it's time to move on to your ready step.